So this is not no like disclaimer. I'm being so serious when it's like I'm not telling people to ever use psychedelics or do any of these things. I'm literally just trying to share my journey, share the knowledge I've learned from these experiences, and just share my perspective with these things because this has been my journey. 10 years ago, I decided to go on a modern shamanic journey. And this is just something I felt called to. And it's not a fun journey. Well, I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's because it's not fun. I mean, it's just life to me now. Where it's like, I feel like the difference between like shamanism or religion is, or maybe some religions have a bit of a practice to it, but like shamanism is more of a way of life where like you go on the plant dietas and you build relationships with the plants. You learn how to meditate in a sense and then learn how to communicate with the plants. Or like, and it sounds crazy to people that don't understand, but it's something I've been doing for so long that of course I understand because like I'm the one that said I wanted to become a modern day shaman. And what that meant to me at the time is shamanism originated like technically in Asia, right? But the original like American shamans, are the Siberian shamans, but like they have an ancestor like the Native Americans and the like Asians, like they have the same ancestor because it was the Asians in a sense that came over into America to become the Native Americans. Um, and over time, living in America changed their DNA in a sense, or maybe there was a species of human already here when the Asians got here, and maybe they mixed and they became the Native Americans. We don't really know exactly, but all we know is that this practice originated in Asia and spread out and then became hundreds or maybe thousands of different things. You can have shamans that live in the same area, but each different shaman has a different practice, a different story of how they became a shaman, a different way that they became a shaman. So, some of them did plant dietas, some of them didn't. Some of them specialize in uh, ayahuasca, some of them don't. Some of them do psychedelics, some of them don't. Some of them, like whatever, like there's this whole different practice um because shaman means many, like it's a thing, but it's very similar to like each different priest is different. A priest and a rabbi are slightly different, but they're kind of the same thing, right? Like someone who in Africa who practices voodoo, and people look at voodoo like it's bad, but it's just like a African shamanism in a sense. And there's different African practices. There's the Bawiti religion where like they use iboga. That's a form of shaman. Like there's this, they're all shamans in a sense. It's just, you know, it's this thing. So this is why I really stress the modern day shaman thing, where like I'm not a shaman, I'm a modern day shaman. Just like a tobaccoist who's like a shaman who specializes in tobacco, but doesn't use ayahuasca or specializes in maybe San Pedro or something, you wouldn't call him ayahuasquero. You would call the one shaman who specializes in ayahuasca an ayahuasquero. And I'm very whatever that I'm a modern day shaman because I added my own modern day twist because I'm stuck in the modern day life. So like I added this thing where like I I went to the plants that I felt a calling towards. I did the things that I felt I needed to do. I healed my mental health. I got in physical shape. Even to me, getting in physical shape was part of the modern shamanism journey, where like it's better to be in shape than to not be in shape, right? It's better to take care of your body than to not take care of your body, right? It's better to start eating better than to eat like shit, right? Like this is where I started, like I had these thoughts while I was tripping sometimes, while I was on the psychedelics, on the journeys. But like I learned how to meditate. I learned how to, like, I did different focus practices. I did a bunch of different things just to learn how to maneuver when I smoked DMT. And I did these practices just for the shamanic journey originally. But then, I started thinking, well, getting in shape to me is also, it's part of the journey. Where like you get in shape mentally, like get in mental shape, gain mental strength, you'll be able to like gain mental focus, learn how to meditate, like actually do those things and actually learn those things. You'll be able to handle the spiritual side of psychedelics better. Like that's just what I started. So I got in mental shape in that way. Then I started healing my own personality because, like, when I started the journey, I was just some thug dude that started this journey because I got the calling. But to me, this is just my journey. And I don't think this is for everyone. I think this is for very few people. Because even if you look at it back in the day, if you go back to South American days or whatever, the shamans weren't everybody. There was only a handful of shamans through each area because that journey is not for everyone. Not even in the tribal days, that journey was not for everyone. So these psychedelics helped people, or these different plants and herbs helped people back in the day. But the shaman was the one that explored and went on plant dances with these things and understands these things and whatever. But the shaman would be able to use the psychedelics to figure out what plants and herbs the shaman would need to give you to heal you, right? And sometimes it wasn't the psychedelic. Sometimes the shaman would take the psychedelic and then look at you like, okay, well, you need this plant, this plant, and this plant. Take these, mix, like, whatever, for the next 2 weeks, and then come back to me, and then, like, that type of thing. And I understand, because, like, I understand what a lot of these plants and herbs do. So, like, I understand how this plant will help with this, and that plant will help with that. If somebody has too much mucus, this plant will help with that. If somebody's dry, this plant will help with that. Like, but the Chinese medicine does that same thing. In the Chinese medicine, like, these ideas most likely came from Asia because the Asians are the original, like, people that came over to America, and then this whole thing. So there's a connected practice between the way Asians use plants and the way Native Americans use plants. But I don't know. This is just why I was like, I can be a shaman because um it's not just specifically for Native Americans. It's whatever, but it was deeper than I can. It's like I can't deny what I'm being called to do. I can't deny that this is just what feels right. What it felt like I had no choice. Like I don't know, like I just had no choice but to go down the journey. That's why I say it's not for everyone, because if you have a choice, then it's probably not for you. Where, like, I had no choice but to go down this journey. Like, I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but that's what I mean by the calling. But even back in the day, the shamans talked about they're the ones that they got the calling. And once you get that calling, you go for it, right? And it's just been my life ever since. And I just keep growing because I'm not stopping the journey. And people say, I'm like I look different. They say, you look good, man. You look healthy and whatever. And it's just along the journey, I had to go through different stages. I had to go through a stage where I was mentally fucked up. I had to go through a stage where I was heartbroken. I had to go through a stage where I was angry. I had to go through a stage where I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be. I had to go through a stage where I was like, I don't want to be this gangster thug dude anymore. I had to go through these stages, but that's just the physical aspect. I had to go through these stages of learning how to meditate, learning how to put a blindfold on when I use psychedelics and travel the psychedelic world, and learning how to go into that world. And like there's different techniques that I've learned with that. I call it following the rabbit, where following the rabbit is where you'll close your eyes and let's say you see something like this. But if you look within the thing, there's like shapes inside of the thing, and then there's smaller shapes inside of the thing. And like I learned how to look deeper within the shapes until you start going through it, and then it's like the world starts opening up. The psychedelic world does. I call it following the rabbit because you look at the bigger shape, then you look at the smaller shapes, and you keep going deeper into the smaller shapes until the smaller shapes become bigger shapes, and like you just keep going within it. But that's a technique I learned by mixing meditation with this focus practice of being able to focus at something. And this is a technique I learned just for my shamanic journey. And that's how you shamanically journey into the psychedelic world. And learning how to calm your mind, or in a sense silence your mind, will help you be able to take more in the focus techniques and all these different techniques. Like it just helped me learn how to just accept what's happening, and then learning how to let go to the experience and let go to what is happening. Like that's how I started shamanically journeying or traveling the psychedelic world. But this whole thing is just my journey. I don't want people to use psychedelics or whatever, but in a sense, I a little bit do. I kind of do. Not like I don't want to influence people to do it, but the people that are already using psychedelics, why not have a trip where you try to take a spiritual for once? Right? There's a lot of people that use psychedelics and they use it like in a party setting, or they kind of whatever. Why not take a blindfold, put it on, and meditate during the experience, and go into try the technique where I just said, like following the rabbit. I learned following the rabbit by putting kind of two techniques together. There's this technique I learned from Bob Proctor where like you put a dot on the wall and then you stare at the wall or stare at the dot, and like over time you'll be able to improve the time of how long you could stare at the dot without looking away. And as you improve your focus in that way, like, and then I added like a meditation technique where like kind of learning how to silence my mind as like slow down the mind. First you become the observer of your thoughts, then you learn that you are not, you're looking at your thoughts. And like it took a lot of work with the meditation, but eventually I got to the point where I was able to, in a sense, silence the thoughts for a while. Like just have them silent just for a little while. It could be 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But that 5 to 10 seconds in a DMT trip is a long time of being able to actually take in what is actually going on. So, and then that 10 seconds can turn to 20 seconds. Shit, if you can get to 30 seconds, that 30 seconds is so much time in DMT space where like you have so much time to like, I don't know. But this was just my journey, and I looked at it differently because I looked at it shamanically the whole time. A lot of people use psychedelics and they get into it and they just think they're doing a drug, so they don't have the knowledge of like shamanism or any of that. So like I had that knowledge before the journey. So, and luckily for me, because the journey was spiritual, is salvia was my first psychedelic, like smoking salvia. And then my second psychedelic was DMT, smoking dimethyltryptamine. And these were, like, I had hundreds of trips with dimethyltryptamine before I ever even tried mushrooms or LSD or whatever. And, like, I think that helped me have a certain perspective of, like, I already learned a bunch of shit from using DMT, but it took time for the practices and the things to help me physically. Like, it took time for me to actually apply those things to my mental health, to heal my mind. It took time for me to get in shape. It took time for me to become the man I am today. That took time. But that's only because here in the physical world, there's time. In the psychedelic world, there seems to be, like, this thing where you're outside of time. Like, it doesn't take as much time to learn the methods and apply the methods in the space. But in this physical world, it took a lot longer period of time to be able to apply these methods to my physical self. And yeah, I don't know. But I don't even know where I'm going with this video. But I just kind of wanted to talk about the shamanic journey I went on, and, like, where it kind of brought me to is I'm becoming the best version of myself, but it brought me to something deeper than that, where, like, I got the whole psychedelic thing down long before I became the best version of myself. So, but I still feel like this is part of the journey, where my shamanic journey is not just about using psychedelics and learning how to travel with them and learning meditation and doing all that. No. One of the last messages I got from the psychedelics, or DMT in a sense, was that I needed to get my physical life in order. Like, so, like, that's what I'm focusing on. Like, I needed to get in physical shape. I needed to heal my mental health. I need to fix certain things in my life still. And once I do that, maybe I'll go back to the shamanic journey where it's like using psychedelics or whatever. But because I already did that thing, I see that the next part of my journey is just this physical thing. A lot of people look at it in an opposite way of life, where people will fix their physical life first before they fix their mental life, or before they fix, anything else. Though they'd rather make sure their money is right and all this before they make sure their mental health is right. And because I started the shamanic journey when I was 20, like almost 10 years ago, then, like, the shamanic journey pushed me to my mental world first by learning how to meditate and travel the psychedelic world and do all this extra shit and learn knowledge and started to gain more of an understanding of, like, I don't know, the separation between the mind and the body, because when you smoke DMT, you leave your body. So, without me actually thinking about it, I learned how to separate myself from my physical self. You are the observer of your thoughts, and I learned that without actually thinking about it. But then when I learned about it, I then was able to start applying it. But it took time to apply these things to my life, just because I knew, like, I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm the observer of my thoughts. Yeah, I know. If I silence my mind in DMT and I control myself there, I could pull out more information. But why didn't I think I could do that here? Or, like, if I just learn how to control myself mentally here, life will be a little better. Learn how to heal my mental health. If I just get in physical shape, if I just fix my life, like, of course I'm gonna feel better. But why didn't I I don't know, I guess I knew. We all know. We all know what we need to do with our life. We just choose not to do it because it's not easy. It's not easy to get in shape. We all know we should be in shape, but a lot of people are not. We all know the problems in our life. Like, most people know. But it's just really hard. And I get it. But I look at it like, well, it's just part of the journey for me. There's no way off of this for me, because to me, it's just part of my shamanic journey. Not just the psychedelics, but becoming the best version of me. That's the goal.